Hello, everyone, and welcome Blue Jays Breakdown. I'm so grateful you're here. If you're enjoying this content and would like to see more videos like this, please support the channel by subscribing.
This was inevitable, and as the Jays ramp up their attempt to get Max Scherzer back on the team, Eric Lauer, following his spring training debut yesterday, spoke out and revealed the grim truth behind his future with the Blue Jays and sent some cryptic messages that has fans very intrigued surrounding not only his future with the team ahead of opening day, but what this means going forward for their pursuit of Max Scherzer. We're going to break that down, as well as break down multiple updates, including Okamoto making his debut yesterday, but most importantly, some things that fans aren't noticing about that game and some comments from John Schneider and others on their plan going forward. As guess what, ladies and gentlemen, another spring training game is upon us today. But before we get into it all, you guys have been an absolute beast with the support. It truly means the world to me. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. If you want to help me towards that goal, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, folks, didn't have a video following the spring training game yesterday, but I'll cover it, of course, in today's video a little bit here. A lot to go over, and Eric Lauer, of course, looked pretty good. But you look at some of his comments after the game, and fans all had the same idea. Now, of course, we know they're pursuing Max Scherzer, but I want to dive into his quote right away. And this is from Mitch Bannon. Eric Lauer is ready to be the Jays' sixth starter or long reliever to start the year. If he's needed to do both, he will. But it's clear his preference is the rotation. And he said, the whole bouncing back and forth thing last year kind of hurt me in the long run. Not physically, but, my standing. So I'd really like to perform and kind of do what I did last year, show that I can start and hopefully maintain starting. The fact that I ended last year in the bullpen was probably what lost me my arbitration case. And of course, the Jays, ultimately had to pay him $1 million less. But what's inevitable here is his future in Toronto is it's up in the air heavily right now. And I think if they go ahead and they get Max Scherzer, there might be a real world here where Eric Lauer is traded for some depth in the bullpen, especially in lieu of Jimmy Garcia going down with an injury. These comments aren't necessarily what you want to hear, but also he made some comments there a week or so ago, basically saying the same thing, that he wasn't happy with being the, kind of the sixth starter, but being someone who was moved to the bullpen. He wanted to be a starter, and this has, led to a bunch of conversation. Eric Lauer was pretty disappointed that he lost his arbitration case, especially because his camp was willing to negotiate a reasonable offer. He told me finishing the year as a middle reliever likely worked against him, regardless of how it was framed to him. This is not stuff that usually comes out publicly, but Lauer's a little bit upset here, and he also went on to say that arbitration rewards innings, and that's tough to come by out of the pen. For now, he's laser focused on earning a spot in the rotation, maintains a good sense of humor, and chuckled and said, well, we just have next year to worry about. So his future seems a little bit interesting, because you look at all these quotes, he kind of wants to be a starter so he can make the most money, but the Jays recently, reportedly, are interested in acquiring Max Scherzer, and if they get Max Scherzer, he's probably going to be a starter ahead of Eric Lauer. Everyone's kind of believing that. And it was inevitable that it was going to get to this point, right? Because you look at kind of how things have transpired over the past couple of weeks. Slowly but surely, there's been some comments from Eric Lauer and his camp, some disagreements all the way back to arbitration there a few weeks ago, sorry. And I think last year as well, there was some brief frustration at the time about him being moved back to the bullpen. It's a matter of time, especially after the Scherzer report, that Eric Lauer might be one of the guys who's traded for that bullpen depth. And we thought it was going to be Jose Barrios. We thought it was going to be all those guys. Doesn't seem like that's going to be necessarily the case. Now, in yesterday's start, he did pretty good. Talked about how he had 20 pitches, 13 strikes, no game plan, all these different things. It's, I don't know. It is very, very intriguing to me, because you look at it from the perspective of the Blue Jays, right? You look at their, starting rotation. You can see here on the right side, Cease, Gausman, Savage, Ponce, Bieber, Barrios. Lauer is projected to get 2% of the starts, and that's because Bieber's ahead of schedule a little bit. Barrios seems to be back and ready to roll. Cease, of course, they acquired in the offseason, and Fangraphs is probably accounting for the percentage chance that Max Scherzer is a Toronto Blue Jay, in which case, guess what? He would easily be ahead of Eric Lauer in that race. They're not going to sign Max Scherzer to be kind of a backup guy. And you can see here, it feels like a Scherzer deal hinges on if Lauer is dealt or not. And people are speculating now that behind the scenes, Eric Lauer is getting shopped to potentially, once again, upgrade their bullpen following Jimmy Garcia going down with, an injury, not being ready. At least not being ready for opening day. He didn't really go down with an injury. He's just kind of postponing his debut of the season. A lot of stuff here. And I want to see what you guys think. Would you rather them start Lauer over Max Scherzer? Do you think that that's unfair to Eric Lauer? Clearly, with his public frustration, it goes beyond just, internal frustration. You look at his stats last year, 3.18 ERA, finished with 104 innings split between games started and games in the bullpen. He was much better as a reliever randomly last year. Finished 9-2 with 4 quality starts. He doesn't strike out a lot, 8.77 K per nine. He's somebody who is really good, but I guess in his eyes are not getting rewarded for it, right? And isn't getting rewarded for it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. His future is in jeopardy. He's probably, if they get Scherzer, I think they're going to, maybe the reason this report came out about Scherzer is because they'll trade, if of course they trade Eric Lauer, then they bring in Max Scherzer as that depth. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. Things are getting a little bit crazy, especially as spring training is underway, and quite the interesting comments from Mr. Lauer following.
The Toronto Blue Jays are facing a turning point as Eric Lauer speaks openly about his role. Max Scherzer rumors heat up, and spring training delivers surprises that could reshape the roster before opening day. Welcome to Blue Jays Breakdown. And if you want non-stop updates like this, help us reach 2K subscribers by hitting that subscribe button right now, because I bring you all the latest here on Blue Jays Breakdown. Eric Lauer took the mound in his spring debut and looked sharp, throwing 20 pitches with 13 strikes and showing confidence early. After the game, he did not hold back. He made it clear he wants to be a starter. He said moving between the rotation and bullpen last season hurt his standing and likely played a role in losing his arbitration case. He believes finishing the year in relief cost him financially and made it harder to prove his full value. At the same time, the Blue Jays are reportedly pushing to bring Max Scherzer back into the picture. If that move happens, it changes everything. Scherzer would step into the rotation immediately, and that leaves Lauer fighting for the sixth starter role or shifting back to long relief. With Jimmy Garcia not expected to be ready for opening day, there is also growing belief that Lauer could become a trade piece to strengthen the bullpen if Scherzer signs. Lauer's numbers last season were solid. He posted a 3.18 ERA across 104 innings, splitting time between starting and relieving. He went 9-2 with 4 quality starts and showed he can handle different roles. However, he made it clear his focus is earning and keeping a rotation spot. For now, he says he is locked in on competing and keeping a positive mindset as decisions approach. Spring training action added even more intrigue. Adam Macko impressed in his outing, going 2 innings and allowing only a walk while keeping hitters off balance. His fastball velocity jumped significantly compared to last year, and that has put him firmly on the radar as rotation depth. If injuries strike or trades happen, Macko could see action sooner than expected. Tyler Rogers also looked strong, delivering his unique style and showing why the coaching staff values his durability. Manager John Schneider praised the bullpen direction and emphasized the importance of reliable innings as the season approaches. On offense, Dalton Varsho stood out with a powerful performance that included a high-velocity single and a home run off a premium fastball, giving fans something to be excited about. All eyes now turn to what happens next. Will the Blue Jays finalize a deal for Max Scherzer? And if they do, does that signal the end of Eric Lauer's time in Toronto? Or will Lauer secure his place in the rotation and prove he belongs there long-term? The next few days could define the early shape of this roster, and we will track every development right here on Blue Jays Breakdown. Make sure you subscribe and help us reach 2K subscribers so you never miss a single update as this story continues to unfold.